And if you've seen Shankar Nag's Malgudi days, all the lead actresses are wearing Udupi cottons. Daily earning of a weaver is at around 260 rupees something.
Most of my weavers are generational weavers who have been with us for last, I think, 3-4 generations for sure. You know, every time that I'm on the loom or with a master weaver, he would teach me something where no book or no formal education would have taught.
That is so true. That is so true. Well said. The color of the Kunbi, which is a red, is a very important color in indigenous communities that live by the land. So we need to treat our textile purchases like an investment into a cultural legacy of the country.
Handloom or powerloom, can you always tell by touch? The city of India doing the best job of protecting its weaving heritage. This would take around 3.5 months to 4 months to weave one saree because
and very skilled weaver.
Yeah, very skilled weaver.
You've gotten used to getting a biryani in your budget. You don't want to have a khichdi. Everything else automatically falls in place. I think in today's parlance we'd say, "Biwi ko khush rakhoge to sab khush." But it's wisdom.
Welcome to Baithak by Ratanshi Kheraj Sarees. Today on Baithak, we have someone who has spent 12 years doing that most people don't even know exist. She is an author, researcher, writer and curator of Indian textile heritage. She has led revival projects for weaving traditions that were on the verge of disappearing, and she has served the past president of WICCI Maharashtra Handloom Council. We are really excited to sit with her today, learn from her and understand the world behind the sarees we love. Welcome Savitha ji to Baithak by RKS. It's been a pleasure and honor to have you on a chat with us for a podcast. We have just learned that you've spent nearly more than 12 years researching and reviving the textiles that have nearly gone for an extinction, and I'm sure you have been successful, and it's absolutely worth knowing that.
Thank you.
So welcome to Baithak. Today we are here to just learn about your journey, things that you have achieved over years and things that you have learned over years, and let's educate our audience that the insights that you have known from the weaving community and your researches. And when you travel to these smaller locations, I would say clusters where weavers live a different life than what you and me live in Bombay.
True.
Things are very different. Their thought processes, the way they look at life, the way they live life, and the way they work, and how beautiful the tradition that we have, the textile that we have inherited for years. And it's a sorry face that some of them are near to extinction and are getting lost. So let's sit back today and educate our clients. So Savitha ji, we have learned that you have done sociology and mass communication.
Yeah.
What made you deviate and get into textiles? And it's been nearly 12 years. It's quite a contrast.
It is a contrast. So I have done sociology, I have done mass communications. I've also done cyber law and cyber forensics. But my career was in marketing. My corporate career was in sales, marketing and business analysis. And textiles happened by a happy accident. And my entry in textiles came through the lens of someone who's worked with business analysis and sales and marketing. So I was not looking at textiles purely from the heritage point of view, but I was looking at them more from the economic and commercial viability lens, which I think is a perspective that is being understood better now. But I think 12 years ago, it was a bit of a disruptor phenomenon that was happening, that you were not buying to save weavers, and that was the thing. You bought handlooms because there's a poor weaver who will earn a livelihood. I think here the question was, textiles, handmade textiles especially, are India's second largest employment generator in rural India.
True.
if you actually allowed them to do what they have been doing for centuries, they get to stay back in their villages and not migrate to cities in search of jobs. So for me, it was really the economic sense that all of this made that drew me into this entire ecosystem. And 12 saal kab gaye pata nahi chala. And I'm not talking only about making the textile. A lot of us get heirloom sarees from our families.
True.
And we all wear what we have seen our mothers and grandmothers wear. You know, once we get to a certain age, we are going back to what we've seen in our childhood. So a lot of what we know and what we do and how we experience things comes from this passing down of traditions orally, sometimes visually, and sometimes it's written down like a family recipe, for instance. Anvaya, though, did not start with very noble intentions in that sense. It was just that some of us were caught with a lot of questions that no one was willing to answer, and our questions were very basic. How do I identify a handloom from a power loom? And what is 1800 rupees a good price to pay for a hand embroidered sari, or is it a rip-off? As in, is it a machine embroidery being passed off? We had very fundamental questions like these, and we didn't always get answers we were looking for. Because I think very often for people who are new to handlooms, it's a little intimidating, because your question may sound very stupid to people who know better, and they may or may not want to answer you. So Anvaya was created for people like me who had questions and didn't know where to ask those questions. It started with 9 of us, and we'd ask each other questions, and we'd do our own little research and find answers and share it. So it was a sort of knowledge and experience sharing thing, and we're now 900 of us, or maybe more actually, which is a growing community where we have weavers, we have curators, academics, we have customers. I think that is good. Of course, when I teach, whether it's at NIFT, whether it's at Somaya Kala Vidya, I think that's a different high, because they're students, and classroom sessions are always so enriching for both sides. And when a student messages back and says, you know, you taught me this and I used it and I landed a job over here, or you know, I did this because you told me to. I have some of my students who say, you know, you said you don't wear bandhani because it is so dense, like बहुत काम करते हो आप, you know, it's a very busy sari. And they learn to minimalize the entire design. You know, they make it minimal, and then they will understand ki, okay, there are women in Bombay who go to work and they want minimal work. So they rethink their design process. That comes somewhere along the line, definitely, but not the primary reason why I take up work.
So what does your work actually look on the ground?
It looks like a lot of things, because I wear multiple hats. I am a researcher. That's a role I absolutely love. So it could mean going to places without regard for temperatures and season, and being on the field, recording oral histories, photography, mapping the village, mapping the ecosystem, and making sense of it all.
What is Kunbi? Where does it originate, and where is it today?
Yes. So Kunbi, the word actually refers to a caste. They're primarily agrarian. You find them across, so Maharashtra, Andhra, Telangana, Goa. The textile we are talking about really is what the farm laborers in Goa would wear typically back then. It was a 5-meter piece of the kapad, like the kapda, literally. But because these women were working in paddy fields and they would be knee deep in water, so they were not wearing something that went below the knee. It was a short fabric, short length fabric that was draped at the knee. It would stop just above the knee, and over time the Christian Kunbi started wearing a blouse with it on the top, and the Hindu Kunbis would wear it like a halter stitched, you know, just tied at the back. Over time, of course, with the Portuguese coming into Goa, they banned the weaving and wearing of the traditional textile, which means the kapad actually went out of fashion, because the Portuguese rule in Goa meant that you could no longer do what is indigenous to you, what is native to you. So weaving actually went underground. And while khadi is a very popular symbol of our freedom struggle, in Goa it was the Kunbi kapad. That was the symbol of resistance, because weaving went underground, and the way you showed resistance was to weave and wear that textile. And of course, once I think the last weaving activity was sometime around the mid 80s, and it was a by chance discovery for me, because we used to spend almost every Christmas in Goa because it was my son's favorite place to be. No Goa Emporium had any textile really. And that was a puzzle, because then what were people wearing before the Portuguese came? That was the next question. I went back and I looked at Rita Kapoor Chishti's book on sarees, which is iconic, which is quite the Bible for all of us. And in that she had documented this textile. So I had spent an entire Diwali with my husband and son, where I had printed these cards with the image of the textile and my phone number, and we went round the villages of Goa handing out these cards and saying, if you see this textile, please call. So I went to this Facebook group that I was a part of, and I said, look, this is a challenge, what should we do? And the admin told me ki dal do ek post, let's see what happens. Now I have a corporate training, so I'm all about Excel sheets and order forms. I need that structure to work. And I put the form out and said, 2 din ke baad we will close the form, and this is the story of this Kunbi textile, Kunbi kapad. And when we closed it, we got 245 orders.
Wow.
And we didn't have weavers. So we went back to the villages and recruited the weavers, and it took us 18 months to get the first batch out, because we had to discard an entire batch because technically it was not perfect the way, our technical expert wanted it. But somewhere along the way, every time someone got their Kunbi textile, and this is a single color, single design, we didn't offer anything else. यही एक साड़ी है, यही design, यही color, 245 people are going to get it. Every time someone received theirs and they posted about it, it brought a fresh wave of orders. Somewhere people started identifying with a textile that was not premium. It was 1850 rupees with shipping and packing included. So it was an affordable textile. You did not need to put a fall, you didn't need a matching blouse. You could dress it up, dress it down. It was perfect for the working woman, and I think that got picked up a lot. And at the 500 saree mark, I actually said, okay, I'm done over here. But we connected people B2C, so that small entrepreneurs could actually start placing orders. And somewhere around 1,000 sarees, I exited the project. And it's in the 10th year of non-stop production now as we speak. So 2016 to now, and at some point when I'd asked, they said, we crossed 6,500 sarees long back. And of course there are variations now, but I think for me, it's the women who believed in the story and who ran the project.
So there is supposed to be a story about an old weaver just telling you about different colors and what do they mean in Kunbi.
So there are 2 master weavers really, and we visited one of them when we got our first batch of Kunbis, because the sample we wove it from was from him. So we wore our Kunbi sarees and we went. And while initially he was reluctant to meet us, he had already stopped weaving by then. His daughter-in-law said, but just look at the color. And that's when he actually told us to come in. And it's a lesson actually, and I started paying more attention to what they have to say about colors, because he said the color of the Kunbi, which is a red, is a very important color in indigenous communities that live by the land. Because one, it represents the land itself, it's the color of the earth that sustains their lives. 2, it's also the feminine energy. And as long as there is a woman who is menstruating in the house, for them it means the lineage will continue. It means the family name will continue. And it is the sacred feminine that you are honoring. So it's a lovely ethnographic lesson that when you keep the woman as the foundation of your social structure, everything else automatically falls in place. I think in today's parlance we'd say बीवी को खुश रखोगे तो सब खुश, but it's wisdom, it's just wisdom. True. That how do you tell these stories, and the canvas you have is the loom, and you are going to use the warp and weft to tell that story. And I think this is how ancient wisdom passed on through generations. That, for example, they will not put, in the Kunbi carpet tradition, they do not put white on the warp. They do not use a white warp at all. For whatever reason, because white perhaps for them would mean absence of color, therefore absence of life, you know. And for example, black is the color for mourning. Newly widowed women would wear blue with a deep red border and white checks. So the yellow, blue and green that are there on the red carpet disappear, and it's just white checks on a blue background. And if she's old and she's widowed, she wears purple with a deep red border again. Purple is symbolic of two extremes. One is for royalty, and one is of the highest form of not spirituality but letting go of materialism. Because as an old lady who's been widowed for many years, she's received or she's reached that stage where she's able to let go of all materialistic things, but there's still a lot of color because she's still the matriarch of an agrarian family, you know, which is working by the land. So she's still actively contributing to the family, running the household, calling the shots. So color is not bleached out from her textiles. So I think these are all ways that communities talk about their own life journeys. For me, I think that has been the biggest learning. The color is not just aesthetic, like how it is for us very often. And I think that's where I enjoy being, because technically a textile can be revived, but to revive the market for the textile, I think, is a more challenging one if we want to make the entire thing sustainable. Udupis came apart because a friend had posted saying that at the Udupi bus stop, the weavers from the Weaver Cooperative Society were selling sarees for 100 rupees because no one was buying it, and the saree cost was 500. And it seemed really sad, and you had a group of 10,000 women saying, oh, this is so sad, kya karna hai. Everyone is sympathetic, but no one is taking action. And to me, the solution seemed very obvious, that you just find an intermediary, get him to ship this lot out to you and you pay him. And it seemed like a very simple, straightforward solution. So I was looking at picking up sarees for donations. So I called up a friend who had a store in Bangalore, and I said, look, this is the situation. They have about 135 sarees. He said, no, I'll have it picked up. You pay me for what you're taking, and the rest I will try and sell through my store. And so again, I had asked on this group, you know, I said, look, I'm picking up some for myself. Do you all want? So we got back. The Excel form started with the Udupis, and we put it on an Excel form, and everyone who wanted this saree for 750 rupees, 500 for the weaver, 250 for the intermediary, because he has to pack, ship and do all of that work. And at 750 rupees, you were getting a fabulous hand-woven cotton from Karnataka that for a lot of people had a lot of nostalgia. It's a sari that we've seen our grandmothers wear in Karnataka. And if you've seen Shankar Nag's Malgudi days, all the lead actresses are wearing Udupi cottons. And suddenly it was this revival of memories and nostalgia. A lot of mothers remembered their mothers wearing it, and everyone wanted.
Are they not given the dignity that they want, or are they not that accessible?
A little bit of everything. I think when you have more glamorous options in front of you, and if you've gotten used to getting a biryani in your budget, you don't want to have a khichdi, because somewhere it also becomes visibility for you. How are people seeing you? And there is peer pressure, you know, in the sense of you. Also the fact that now so many more weaves have become accessible. True. I think my mother's time, grandmother's time, there were just weaves of your region that were available. Now suddenly everything's opened up and you have so many options. Something has to give way, and the ones that gave way were these common everyday sarees that actually came in your budget, because glamour became a little more important. Owning more weaves became more important. It became a sort of a race on how many weaves do you own and how easily am I going to get them. And shopping became instantaneous, no, with online shopping. And these weavers sitting in a cooperative society don't have access to that.
The Western media has a lot more influence. Stitched clothes are a lot more easily available. Fast fashion is catching up. So it is a demographic change. So now the whole idea comes is why are the weaves not given that dignity, or why are they not special? Because we have inherited that easily. Is it true, or we have not valued them, or are they not that special that you and me think they are that special?
No, I think every single weave is special. Even the one that comes at 750 rupees is very special because it puts food on the table.
Yeah.
And anything that puts that on the table is special by default. I think India's specific problem has been that we have a problem of plenty. We have too much diversity, if there is such a thing. And with so much diversity available to us, we stop valuing what we have. And we're looking at how are we looking when we stack ourselves against, say, another country. So when that starts happening, I think we don't start looking at what we have. We're looking at what is going to make me accepted by the outsider. So formal wear today is a suit, is a formal western suit. Like if you go to banks, women in formal wear would mean I'm seeing them in a suit, western suit. But in the 70s, it was saris. I mean, my mother's generation, even today I see them wear saris even to go to bed. Yeah. I've not seen my mother in anything else but a sari. Started region wise, I think we'll be able to work that.
That's great. So you were a president of WICCI, Maharashtra Handloom Council, for 4 years. What did that time teach you about government policies, and what can we do for the weaver with that?
I think what that really taught me was that policies are the hardest place to work in. Policy advocacy is the hardest place to be in, but it's also the most urgent need. And my work with the Udupi cottons and the Kunbi copper actually was picked up in a business management book on change management in Asia. In India, they picked up these two as case studies. So it is, I think, a learning from that we were one of the many people working with the Kunbi copper. The second was that much as policy advocacy is the most difficult thing to do today, we have to somehow find a way of communicating to the government about the actual needs on the ground. Because what is needed in Maharashtra is very different from what is needed in Goa. And we cannot take one policy and apply it equally across clusters. Banaras has a different requirement compared to Kanjivaram's. So the people are different, the ecosystems are different. So understanding the ecosystem is important. And I think what we tried to do at WICCI was also that documentation was severely lacking. We did not know enough about the ecosystem was a startling discovery, that just knowing the textile and how it is made was not the be all and end all. So we did as much as we could on having conversations on how to document all of this. We started the process because we realized that if we don't document, we don't know what the gaps are. If we don't know what the gaps are, how do you do policy advocacy? So this working with blinkers does not work is something those 4 years taught me, that you have to take the blinkers and it has to be an interdisciplinary approach to policy advocacy, because there is gender, there is caste, there is religion, there is financials, there is just so much at work there.
Savitha ji, India is the only country that produces all 4 major natural silks. Most of the Indians don't know what this is. Can you just educate us about the same?
We're a very lucky country in that sense. We cultivate mulberry silk, sericulture, with Karnataka as the largest producer in India. We also have indigenous silks, which are wild silks. Tassar, Eri,
Eri,
and Muga.
Muga.
Now, Eri and Muga are endemic to the northeast. Muga, especially GI tagged to Assam, the golden silk. Tassar is found in several parts of the country: central India, Maharashtra, Bihar, all these regions. These are primarily wild silks because they used to be foraged earlier, and the indigenous tribes would bring these and reel the silk from that and hand spun, hand woven silks. Eri is a fabric that mimics cotton a lot. So, if you go to the northeast, they use it a lot for their furnishing. Where temperatures are extreme, and it's an all-weather fabric. So whether you see it as ahimsa or not, I see Eri having a lot of potential in India because the fiber is so comfortable to wear round the year, especially for Indian summers as well. Though we call it a silk, the fabric itself becomes very comfortable. So I think while we have these available, I'm not very sure if we've tapped into the complete potential of all of these silks. Muga is an heirloom silk, the world's most expensive silk as well as one of the most strongest silks in the world. Limited production, which gives it its exclusivity and its price tag as well. But I think there's a lot of scope, and I don't think we in India appreciate that enough. Tassar is something that we see as coarse, so it looks dull, it's brown. But Vidarbha Tassar is one of the finest that I know. I think it's so good in quality. It's a pity we don't do enough with our silks.
So you presented India's silk story at Silk in Lyon, one of the most prestigious textile festivals in the world. What was your experience like?
Oh, that was absolutely mind-blowing because I think the only place we Indians learn about what we have is when we go abroad.
True.
Like we look at a cave painting somewhere and say, oh, but we have this in Ajanta and it's much better. So at the venue, we were given a very large space for the India Pavilion. So we put up all of these textiles and we announced guided walkthroughs. So for every walkthrough, we picked 5 to 8 textiles. We talked to them about the silks, the techniques, because that also gave us a chance to showcase the kinds of surface embellishment India does. We weave, we embroider, we block print, we tie and dye, we just do so much on our fabric. So it gave us an opportunity to talk about our silks, talk about the different techniques we use to decorate the fabric, and then we did draping workshops. So you had a lot of people coming in, and it was quite the eye-opener because this is a ticketed event in Lyon. They just loved being in our sarees as well. And there'd be some who'd come back the next day saying that I went back and read, and can you tell me a little more about the ajrak, or can you tell me about the batik? How is it different from what you make in Madhya Pradesh and this? So I think very exciting conversations, and just so much respect for what India does. And when an outsider is looking in and telling you, this fabric of yours is truly export quality, then you're waking up to potential that we've not yet recognized. And one of those was the Vidarbha Tassar, that I had not quite imagined that it would be so popular, and it was the eye candy textile really among the whole lot. So I think that was a learning experience at Lyon, just that so many people loved what we were bringing.
So you have described Saree as cultural documentation. Can you explain what do you mean by that?
So when I see someone in a sari, traditionally speaking, not today in its democratized secular avatar, but if I looked at indigenous communities, I could look at the drape, the border, the color, and know everything I needed to know about the wearer. Like the Kunbi kapad, for instance. If I saw a woman in that, I would automatically place her in a certain socio-cultural context and even an economic context as well. That is what textiles really are about. If textiles were simply about protecting us from the elements of nature, it won't matter. Handlooms, I think, matter because they are more than that. They are like the ID cards we carry without ever having to say a word. So even today, I'm sure when we're looking at people at a wedding, we are judging them. we are looking at them and think, acha, like she's wearing this, but she wore it last time also. Or she's so wealthy, she's always wearing something new. She's buying expensive clothes. We may not give it a name, but we are doing this subconsciously. We are looking at what people are wearing and arriving at certain conclusions. Right or wrong is a separate thing. But textiles communicate. Because they communicate, they are cultural identifiers or markers, as I would like to call, and saris especially so, because that's what women were wearing, whether it was a nawari, it was a dahwari, it could be a 6 yard, it could be anything, but women were carrying their cultural identity wherever they went, much more often and more consistently than men. Even
True.
today.
Even today. So myths versus truth. More weight means better quality.
No, not necessarily. There are other features that identify a sari with a better quality.
So all Banarasis come from Banaras?
No, they don't. They'll come from surrounding villages as well. Banaras would be the nomenclature for that entire cluster.
Handloom is always more expensive than powerloom?
It tends to be more because it's made by hand and production is more limited.
So lot more labor.
Lot more labor.
A GI tag means a sari is handmade?
It should ideally mean that, but it doesn't, because like everything else, there's an adulterated system in place. So not necessary that the GI tag or handcrafted label you're seeing is true. You need to do your due diligence.
Even the Mysore silk has a GI tag.
Mysore silk is not handmade.
It's not handmade.
It's not.
Real zari will look shinier than artificial zari?
No, real zari will actually look more mellow and softer and will not have this bling that you will see in the plastic. Yes.
Natural silk always feels soft to touch?
No, tussars are not soft. Mulberry silk would be soft, but not all silks are always. These are wild silks. They will not be soft to touch.
So they have a grain in their cores.
With grain.
So handloom saris are not meant for everyday wear?
Nothing could be further from the truth. I have 1 million saris I could wear every day. So the myth that handlooms are not for every day needs to be busted.
When a woman buys an handloom sari versus a replicated one, where does the money actually go to?
To the shopkeeper. It just goes straight to the shopkeeper, because when you buy a hand woven sari, there are the depth of the value chain is at least 12 to 16 people deep. That many livelihoods are working because you are paying the money. When you choose a shortcut, then even the money takes that shortcut. So a large chunk of it rests with the intermediary who's selling it to you. Very little goes back to the ground.
So for a handloom piece of textile, there are nearly 12 to 15 people who are fed.
Yes, taking from the farmer. You start from the farmer, then the cotton plucker, you cannot forget them. Then you have the ginners, you have the spinners, you have the warp sizing, you have the dyers, you have the weavers, the ones who make bobbins, the ones who do the finishing, the ones who do the washing. So there are just so many livelihoods that handloom supports, which is why I think it's so important for India to focus on handlooms. Handlooms in India meet 11 out of the 17 SDG goals that the UN has laid out. So if we just focus on that one sector, we'll meet 11 out of those, the majority of them.
What do weavers actually earn per saree? We can maybe...
so, no, I have the number because there was a survey done and the book was released last month. The average daily earning of a weaver is at around 260 rupees something, where the daily mandated wage by the government of India for unskilled agro labor is at 475. So that is what a weaver is actually earning per day. And this is an average, so it could be a little more, little less, but yes. So
what happens to the weaving community when the demand drops?
They disappear. Very simply, they just disappear and you won't even get to know. Absolutely. I don't think we talk enough about that, do we? I mean, when a designer puts a sari out, we're talking about it, but rarely do we talk about the artisan who's doing all of that work, who's actually creating what you have designed. So the more we treat them as equals, the greater their chances of living a life of dignity. If you're going to treat them as labor, then that's where they're going to be.
True.
If you're treating them as co-creators, then that's where they will be.
What does conscious buying actually look like?
Conscious buying actually looks like a woman looking at a piece of textile and saying, I love how this looks, I can afford it, but I don't necessarily have to own it simply because I like it. She's being mindful. A lot of women pick up stuff because, oh, this color looks good on me. Or I have a pink with a green border, but I don't have a green with a pink border. Or this design is looking better. Those are great reasons to buy, but they're not sustainable reasons to buy. How many pink with green and green with pink are you going to buy? At least that's what we should be wearing. The second thing is a woman or a man who's walking in to buy something should have done basic homework. Doing your basic homework is the bare minimum. So if I want to buy a Banarasi, I should know a little bit about it at least. What is a kadwa? What is a fekwa? How do I identify a power loom from a handloom Banarasi? What is a good price to pay? What is a history? What is a shikarga motif? What is a jangla? At least that much basic, a little bit at least of due diligence, because you're not buying a textile, you're investing into a cultural legacy. This is like buying a home. You don't just look at a flat and say, oh, I like this, so I'll pick it up. I don't have a flat on the 12th floor, I think this is a great idea. No, we do due diligence, right? Who is the builder? What materials is he using? What are the payment terms? What happens if he doesn't deliver on time? We do all of this. We need to treat our textile purchases like an investment into a cultural legacy of the country. Then we are being more mindful, we are being more responsible towards that legacy, because we are carrying that legacy one step ahead when we wear it, right?
True. But there is a difference in the buying pattern. There are many women who would buy a piece of textile as an heirloom, and there are many who would buy it as a piece of cloth. They don't care behind the history or the way it's been made.
Which is also fine. I mean, I'm not saying every woman has to do this research project before buying a sari. You will buy something because it catches your eye, and that's a perfectly good reason. But I think as one must evolve, there have to be a few pieces in your wardrobe that come to you because you truly want to own those pieces.
Can we quickly go through a small rapid fire round as well? So one textile in India is about to lose forever if nothing changes.
Himru.
So can you just brief us what
Himru
is Himru?
Is from Aurangabad. It's not a GI tag textile yet. It is under examination. But there's only one family that practices it in its authentic or original form. And we have the last practitioner and just 3 looms left. It uses also a lesser known loom called the pit paga loom. So it's a pit loom at the bottom and the paga loom. And this is a period before jacquard came in, and so they don't use a jacquard, they use a naksha. So they create a naksha every time, right? So I think we will lose a lot if the Himru goes away.
Handloom or power loom? Can you always tell by touch?
No, we cannot. We cannot, because I think today power loom mimics handloom so well that you can't always touch and tell. The true story of a textile is on the reverse, not on the face, it's on the reverse.
The one Indian silk the world does not know enough about.
Vidarbha Tassar. I don't think even Indians know enough about the Vidarbha Tassar. They should.
So one thing every woman should know before she buys her next sari.
Why she's buying the sari. I think that the answer to that question will determine if it's a purchase or an investment. If she's buying a piece because it's pretty or because it's going to be an heirloom.
The most overrated textile trend right now?
There are 2. One is revivals. Everyone is reviving lots of things. I'm not sure where it's all headed. That's very scary for me. The second is draping styles. Earlier textiles were designed to suit a particular draping style. Now we are force fitting a draping style into a textile we already have, and it's not always it's a nice thing to experiment with, but I'm not sure I'm all on board with that.
So is the revival all about photo ops, or is it the actual groundwork as well? Because, as you said,
We
there are
were,
many people looking at
yes.
doing revivals these
So a
days.
lot of revivals are photo ops. The collection's done, money is made, and the artisan goes back to his loom. There are some genuine efforts, of course. I'm not saying that all revivals are photo ops, but revivals that become regenerational by nature are the ones that we need more of. Cotton.
The city of India doing the best job of protecting his weaving heritage.
I would say region Kutch. I think Kutch is doing a fantastic job of protecting their craft, especially their textile legacies. It's a combination of entrepreneurship in their DNA, very good optics, very good visibility, and very smart marketing. Very smart marketing, I would think.
So, how is the craft passed on from one generation to other generation of weavers? Because we see the newer generation is not wanting to get into the trade or the art. How do you think how is been passed on from generations to generations?
So earlier it would be oral transmission, and just the fact that you sat at the loom from when you were a child.
Yeah.
So you learnt it as a kid, and there is a muscle memory that you inherit as well. What has made a difference, I think, for the worse is the Child Labour Act,
True.
which does not distinguish between a child sitting to learn a craft and one who is doing physical labor for wages. When that distinction is not made and a child is not sitting at the loom from a young age, they go to school, they live a different life out there. You can't expect them to come back as a teenager and be okay with being just a weaver. It's like I'm showing you the world, but you can't, you can't go there. You have to come back to this. Part of it lies in the fact that we are, of course, looking at transmission of knowledge from father to son or to daughter, whatever it may be. I think now we'll have to sort of flip that and look at who is the most willing learner. So there is a person in Ahmedabad who works with the Ashavali, and Paresh has actually experimented with this and it's working very well. He says, traditional weaving children don't want to come back here.
True.
But there's a lot of unemployment in the village. They're very, very good with the mobile, they're very good with social media, they can do good photography. So I think upskilling in that sense will create livelihoods within the village itself, and they will stay invested in that ecosystem. But you could have a fresh bunch of weavers who are trained. So there is enough unemployment in the country, especially in rural India. And people are willing to learn.
And when child labor came into act, they were the saddest people. Actually, being learned, I always thought child labor act was good, but that is where they made me understand. A master weaver just sat with me and he just made me understand कि सर ये उनका स्कूल है, छोटे से अगर उसका हाथ नहीं चलेगा तो बड़ा होके हाथ नहीं चल पाएगा उसका. So this is how I had learned that child labor as a macro picture was something which was good, but in terms of an art was dying.
Yes.
And I think that's true with most of the artisans, where when the kids are young, normally they have pits at home where they learn the art of weaving, and that's true with most of the art, whether it's pottery or whether it's textiles or anything. That is where they learn from their childhood.
Absolutely.
So we have a generation of weavers who have been with us, and they are really proud to work with us because we have given them that respect, the dignity, and the money that makes them running as well. I would be proud to say that I have a set of most of my weavers are generational weavers who have been with us for last, I think, 3-4 generations for sure. And they treat me as their kid as of now, and they are ready to share the knowledge that they have inherited over the years, and learning with them is always a pleasure. Every time that I'm on the loom or with a master weaver, he would teach me something where no book or no formal education would have taught.
That is so true. That is so true. Well said. I think you all have built that trust. Over generations, you all have been able to build that trust, and that's so important with weavers.
True. So I would like to just highlight and showcase you one of our very old saris that has been revived. It's a Banarasi Kadwa with a Minakari. And I would just like
Sure.
your weaves, and I would like to touch and feel and let me know
Yes.
what is that can be improved in it. So if you see, this is an original Kadwa with a Minakar and with motifs which there are multiple motifs with multiple
Yes.
sizes in them. It's woven on a pure mulberry silk, and multiple wefts have been used.
Lovely. And of course the classic Banarsi.
Yeah, it's
Motif,
a Banarasi
the
motif.
motif.
It's a beautiful paisley motif.
And how
With-
many months would this take?
This would take around 3.5 months to 4 months to weave one sari, because
and a
it
very
would,
skilled weaver,
yeah,
clearly.
very
because
skilled weaver.
The work is really
Normally there are two weavers who would weave in tandem because there are multiple wefts to it. But from dyeing to graphing to the end product, it's nearly employing around 15 to 16 people for sure.
Yes. And how long would the pre-loom process take? Like at least for the first warp, I'm sure you have a
The pre-loom process is nearly a 3-4 month process
3-4
where it starts from design to a graphing to a loom setup to warping to dyeing to jacquard setups.
They're the true technical experts.
Yeah, they're
actually.
two technical
They
experts.
are beautiful. Very nice.
It's a lovely Rupa Sona Kadwa.
And this is pure zari?
Yeah, it's made with the
It's
pure
pure
zari.
zari.
It's pure silver plated with gold twisted on a very fine silk.
Also, purple is a very favorite color in Banaras, jewel tone.
Very, very popular.
Lovely.
Because the contrast of the gold zari is nice on these jewel tones.
And how old would the original design of this be?
It's from the 18th century. We just revived it from a book which was on an Asian textiles.
Okay.
So this is an old design which has been revived.
Okay.
So if you see these motifs, these are paisley motifs. And paisleys are not native to India. They
Yes.
are truly Persian motifs which were got to India by the Mughals.
Correct, correct. Beautiful.
Thank you, Savitha ji, for
Thank you
coming
so
on the show. It was great sitting with you, chatting about revival projects, textiles which are nearly lost. There are few textiles that even I have learned about, like the Kunbi for the first time. And what the color significance, what is the significance of color in Indian textiles. We have a rich heritage of Indian textiles, but sadly we don't value it so much. So I would really thank you for putting up light on things that we have inherited, and it was great having you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I think the conversations were wonderful. Sparks a lot of thought in me as well. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Thank you.